Welcome to Mystical Moments. I'm Michael,
And I'm Jarrod.
and believe it or not, we are not related. There have actually been people on the show, on Terrace Ross, that have mentioned, "Are you guys related?" No, no, we are not related, folks. I was sitting and thinking about this the other day, and I remember walking into DA. The first thing that really caught my attention, outside of the crystals, tarot cards, because you had a ton of tarot, you had a ton of oracle. But I'm curious. We have a friend in common, JD, who
Yes.
who does a lot. He did his own deck of
hmm
oracle cards. What has been some of the best designs that you've ever seen? Have they been animals? Have they been totems, places, fractal?
Good question. There's a lot of really good ones out there. There's a mix of different graphics and art renderings and whatnot. And I really like. I prefer like Colette Baron Reed's and her collaborations that she does. She has some really cool stuff out there, and she does. It's mainly Oracle that she does, and then the Psychic Tarot is one that I use as well, and that's a really cool one. It can be read as an Oracle deck or a Tarot deck, but it's got really cool graphics on it, and it really resonated with me. But I mean, there's the Osho Zen Tarot deck. There's a lot of different ones that just really are bright and vibrant in
Mm-hmm.
color. Blue Angel is kind of like a brand. They really have a lot of really cool stuff because their artwork is again very vibrant and kind of stands out.
I've
So there's
noticed
a mix.
I've noticed that a lot of the older readers prefer things that are a little more subdued.
hmm
Whether it's a standard Rider Waite deck, but they're more, as far as colors, they're drab, or they're
Yeah.
very. I don't want to say sinister because that's not a good word, but they're darker in nature as far
Yeah.
as the vibrance of the color. And
hmm
you get people that come out today, and it's like, oh my god, a color palette just hit me in the face,
Yeah.
But they're cool. It- when you have ever read for anybody, did you ever find that, I don't know, did certain clients gravitate to different types of cards, whether they were animals or something like that?
The client, not so much. They always want to know kind of what you got and what you're working with,
Uh-huh.
but not so much. I didn't find that they, gravitated towards like an animal deck or an animal totem deck or something like that versus tarot. They usually just sat down and what we provide and what we use personally is kind of what they're going to get.
Yeah, I remember going to different fairs, and I would walk through, and I would see this client with a particular deck or another client, or as we were kind of talking about the other night, somebody that their table looks polluted with reading
Yeah.
material. Eh, I get overwhelmed. I don't know about you, but when I look at something and I sit down and there's like 28 different types of divination tools,
hmm
I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
But it's funny because the people like that, they use them all.
Yeah.
It's like they'll use a touch of this, a touch of that, a touch of something else. And
Right.
I, I never got that way. Did you ever
Yeah.
do anything like that to where you use several methods at once?
I have a couple times. Um, it's kind of cool because in some respects the different modalities that you're using is kind of neat to find how when you do a tarot spread and then you pull something else into the equation, um, how that compares to what you did over here in the tarot or the oracle spread. So it's like sometimes they are right on and they agree with one another, so they're very compatible in a lot of ways. So yeah, I mean, there's a time or two that have done that, but I'm pretty much a mediumship and connecting with spirit type person anyway. So
Hmm.
I will use the cards sometimes to help facilitate if it's an extended period of time. I'll pull the cards out, but usually it's my mediumship and my oracle cards the most
I've
because
heard an awful lot of people, they turn around and they say, I read tarot. Now, I've run into people that have studied like the standard Rider Waite for
hmm
a couple of decades.
oh
And
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, seriously. because
Yeah.
I'm much more of a no tools kind of reader. I've read, I've studied. My father-in-law has studied for years. You know,
Hmm.
it's just unreal. But they say they understand the card, and there's so many nuances in every card that it's unreal. Um, but they use that in conjunction with things that they will actually see as a psychic or a medium, and they use their gifting capability as right along with what they're seeing in a card. You know,
Right.
does that happen on your end as well when you're talking about being as a medium?
Yeah, definitely. It does.
Did you
All
ever get
plays in.
anything that was spooky?
I no, honestly no, because I tried to, set some boundaries to begin with. So I really try not to get into that end of things. And I use primarily will use, like I said, the oracle cards. That's my modality of choice if I'm going to use a card deck. And there's really not that. There's a lot of fluff in those cards. There's not really anything too scary at all. I try to stay away from the scary end of things.
Hey,
Nobody wants the scary.
yeah, and we don't want to scare people when we read for them. You
Right.
know, but there have been times that I have, if I'm reading cards for someone, and I've got one, the standard classic Rider Waite deck is because I love it. It's what I first began with. But
Yeah.
there's another deck that's an Oracle deck that is so picturesque, um, and I use that. But there are times that, in conjunction with what I am seeing on the card and what's presented to me,
Mm.
it makes the hair on my arm stand up. And it's that quick judgment call of you have to get to know the person that you're reading for a little bit. When they first sit down, it's like you're automatically trying to assess who they are. How are they? Are they someone that you can openly speak with? Do you have to be a little bit more vague, a little bit more general until they ask questions?
Yeah.
Because if you were just to sit down and they sat down and asked their question and you told them possibly everything that you're seeing, I think their hair would fall off or turn white. They would fall out of their chair and then run screaming from wherever.
Absolutely.
Hey, because it's like, come on, man. We see things that we don't always tell people about. And then we see things that we have to take in context, not only with what we're seeing in the card, but what the person is asking. You know, it's this puzzle that fits together.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if it's true for you, but for me, it's trying to meld all of these things together and give a coherent response.
Yeah. It's crazy how that works sometimes because you're going through and you're giving the reading and you're seeing and experiencing things in here. It's okay. So now how do I reiterate that in a way that I'm coming through the back door, not coming in the front door, straight blunt,
Yeah.
because you might offend people, the things we see sometimes, like, I'm not a medical intuitive or anything, but sometimes when I'm dealing with the energies and I'm gonna, because my specific deck that I work with the most have chakra cards,
Mm.
and then it can play into what physically there might be elements that are going on with them. And when we're talking, for instance, heart chakra, well, what's in that heart chakra region? Normally the heart. Is there issues with the heart? And then you might start seeing stuff, and it's like I can't diagnose, and I'm not going to say what's wrong with you specifically, but I don't know if you've been having any issues, and I might go through certain symptoms and say, hey, you might want to just go make sure you get that checked out, or something like that. Or, I can't tell you how many times I've done readings and, there's extramarital affairs going on. And it's like,
Oh.
how do I just bluntly come out and say, so who's this other person you're hanging with? You know what I mean? Without offending somebody, because they might be trying to hide that stuff, and that's not what they're here to talk about. And
Yeah.
there it is. It's on the table now.
And then you're sitting there waiting for them to either say something, ask a different question, or bluntly ask about all of it.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's so many different personality types. So you kind of got to gauge the person you're working with, that querent. How do you feel that they're going? You have to use some of your clairsentience, and how are you feeling in comparison to how they are? Because we're mere reflections of them, and when we connect with them, our aura is entwining into their aura to get this information, and it's like, I got to feel how I'm feeling in order to deliver this information, because how are they going to respond to it? I got to kind of read that as well.
Yeah,
And that stuff people don't see.
yeah, and you have to do it while still being articulate and talking with somebody. So
Yeah.
it's like you've got three, four, five different things going on in your mind all at the same time to get the best information to whom you're speaking with, not be offensive, not go overboard.
Yeah.
It becomes a three ring circus in your brain really,
Right.
really quick. And you bring that up. It's like people, they crack me up when they come in and they're very subdued and they're very calm. And you start to pick up on some things that it's not that they don't want to talk about, but they're not really telling you about.
Mm.
And they'll ask a question that is related to what they're not telling you about and waiting to see if you're going to say something about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, folks, look, we're here for a reason. And I've come to a point where I will stop and they'll ask a very vague question. I'm going to go, okay, look, do you really want to talk about, if it was just something, do you really want to talk about your grandmother's will and how it's going to go with your other, nieces, nephews, uncles? Or would you like to segue into something else? And they just stop. You had that
Yeah.
happen before?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Where you're catching them off guard and they're like,
It is. It
yeah,
drives you up the wall.
it does.
There was something else and I kept thinking before we were going to be able to come online and chat for a little bit. One of the other things that really caught my attention, dream catchers. And I don't know how much you know about them, but they've always caught my attention because you're supposed to hang them somewhere, I believe, on the wall above your head in bed,
Hmm.
or somewhere in that fashion. But I've seen dream catchers that are very simplistic in design, like a spider web, and some that are hugely, you know, look like I don't know what. They're
Yeah.
just so ornate and so intricate in their web design. Did you ever find that one might work better than another, or one works in a different fashion than another?
That's a good question, because if you go out there now, and especially if you like go on Etsy or some of these other places, you're seeing where they're even using doilies in the center for your
Yep.
and that they're really like modern and boho chic and all this other stuff. That those are the terms you want to use, but the practical ones are the ones that look like spider webs, because in Native American folklore, I can't remember the whole story, but I know that basically a Native American woman saved a spider and didn't kill the spider, when I think she was fearful of it or something along those natures. But anyways, she didn't kill the spider, and the spider was grateful. So the spider, in essence, created this gift for her to filter her dreams and capture all the nightmares. So I've actually made some dream catchers before, and it's really cool. And it's not very difficult to do, but they use sinew, and it's a weaving technique. So it looks just like the spider web. So the reference to the spider and the spider web,
Mm-hmm.
that's how that all came about in the look. And that little center hole that's in the middle, there's usually a bigger hole right towards the center.
Yeah.
That's actually where those dreams are filtered through, and it blocks the negative or the nightmare type dreams from that point.
Really?
Yeah. So those are the ones that are more practical, especially if you're putting them above your bed, and even if you can hang it so it's free on both sides.
So it swings
You
a
know what I
little
mean?
bit, or might hit with wind, or
Just
turn.
dangles up there, yeah, and not flat against a wall. So it allows that energy to go right through there.
Is there any significance in the points that cross, like in the weaving in and of itself?
Not that I'm aware of, but there very well could be more specific meaning behind the different things. And like I said, there's a whole story out there. If you actually Google it, you'll find the whole folklore behind where the dream catchers come from. But they do have a very distinct purpose and what they're created for, not just for looks.
Yeah, and it's what I wondered about because you see them become ornate, or they have feathers, or they have things. Do you have any idea what in the very bottom that is hanging down? Is there special significance in the feathers, or what hangs below?
Yeah, all the embellishments I think are just, ways of decorating it up, but I don't think you even need any of that as long as you have that main center design of the spider web. But I'm not there could very well could be, but I'm not aware of anything that the embellishments and, the leather straps and stuff that hang the fringe
Okay.
and feathers actually have anything to play into it.
I'll have to look that up and try and find out a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There's another thing. There used to be a lady that would make the colored candles for your shop. And the aroma was just, oh my God, it was awesome. And I don't know if she still makes candles or not,
Hmm.
but it brought my thinking around to the different colors that she would make. Because they weren't haphazard. The orange that she made was consistently a very particular color of orange. The same thing with the green or the blue or the indigo. What is it with the colors in the candles?
Well, in candle magic specifically, there's a lot of meaning in the colors themselves. White, for instance, is purity, clearing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use that for that, and there's other things you can do with it. It's just your basic candle. You can do anything with. Really, that's the only color you really need. But each other color candle represents something totally different. Like black is usually for protection. So if you're doing protection
Really?
workings, things like that, you'd want to use a black candle. Red is more lust versus pink, which is more love. So if you're trying to manifest and bring things in your life, you can use the intentions and the color vibrations because everything's on a frequency.
Uh-huh.
So each color is on a specific wavelength of frequency. So you can use that energy in the color coordinating to amplify whatever you're trying to manifest or bring in.
See, now, when we talk about that,
Hmm.
and I am very understanding where candles are concerned because people will go, well, I don't believe in magic. Okay,
Hmm.
but you do believe in anything that we might say might be manifestation. And people will go, well, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, So now we have semantics in words and a belief system for moral reasons. Okay, fine. And I tell these people, I say, look, this particular color will make you think about a very particular thing.
Yeah.
And they'll say, okay. And then when you light that candle, you are actually focusing what you're doing and you are focused on the flame,
Hmm.
And they're like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, so, okay, so you're actually performing magic. And they're like,
Right.
no, wait a minute. I'm like, no, too late now. You've already agreed. Yes, you are. and,
Yeah.
and they get upset. And I'm like, it's okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
You're manifesting.
Candles are used in a lot of religious ceremonies, even from Christianity on. They light candles before they start a service or
Sure.
a specific workings of sorts.
Oh, yeah.
But, the candle itself, really, we need no tools. All we need is intention, and our intention drives the living energies of the universe.
Yep.
So all we got to do is dream it and believe it, and it comes into fruition. But a lot of times people need something to focus. They need something tangible, physical in front of them that can center themselves, center that energy into to create what they're looking for. It's a reminder for them.
And if people that are watching might be listening, whatever, if you wonder, stop and take a look at most, and as he said, most religion is walk into a Catholic church, and what
Hmm.
do you see over there? Walk in to any sanctuary of Judaism, or most of these have candles that are lit. They're called prayer candles.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, folks, we're right there. But here's where I have a hard time. And we know that there are charlatans within the field of what we do.
Absolutely.
Okay? And people going, oh, really say it's not so. Okay, folks, you got the used car salesman that's trying to sell you a jalopy, for a Cadillac price.
Yeah.
It's in everything. Any
Yes.
industry, it's there. However, when somebody comes out and says, I have this special candle that has magical properties, And that's the way that you've got to look at it. And they turn around and they say, you light this and it has oil that is 40,000 years old. And it's been prayed over for 90 days by monks. And it's only $1,200.
Yep.
Stop.
Yeah.
What are your feelings about that?
Oh Lord, it does. It happens all the time. I think I've even heard of it here in Sandusky. But you got to question yourself. Do your research when you're going to, looking for a reading or looking for somebody to help you with whatever might be going on in your life. Do your research. You really probably don't want to go to the person that's on the main highway that has neon lights, and you walk inside and her name's Mademoiselle, or you know what I mean. Usually, that kind of can be a trigger to some degree. Not to say that they're not good at what they do, but when they're trying to offer you something of a high, expense, I got a candle for you here in the back room, and it's only special for you, and you can have it today for, $1,000.
Yep.
And no,
Yeah.
there's lots of brujerias out there, and different places, and you can go to other pagan practitioners that, can dress a candle for you. They can, put the intention in there and something that they're working with and do spell work for you to help you. But the cost that's associated with it, you need to watch.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. There's no way $1,200 for a candle.
No, but there are people that are out there that are charging like $200, $300, $400 per candle, and then they will turn around. And I've heard about this. I can't say that I have ever experienced it personally. Probably because I would be in jail because I would have slapped somebody in the face.
Yep.
But then they turn around and they say, you need a white one for Monday, you need a yellow one for Tuesday, and you've got to do this for 5 days. So the cost, it's only $1,000 for the candles for the week. And I'm like, no.
No.
Absolutely not.
You can buy a 7-day one that'll last you 7 days.
That's it, too. And it has 7 different colors in it.
Yeah.
It's just, that's one that made me, because I loved the lady that made your candles in your store. Mm-hmm. They were so aromatic. Just unreal. It put Yankee Candle.
Right.
You got this lady and you got Yankee Candle, and I'm like, wow.
Right. I mean, they were really unique, different. And the practitioner who's making the candle is putting a lot of their own energy into it. So their essence, if they're making for love, they're putting a lot of love into that because they're thinking about it. They're creating it. They're using maybe specific herbs to put in it. They might throw a crystal in there that has to deal with that as well. So, I mean, if you're spending around $20 and you like something that smells good, sure, buy a candle. I mean, go buy a Yankee Candle. They're around $20, $30, $40 anymore. Sure. So it's like, it's just a candle is nothing more than a tool just to serve as a focus of intent that will remind you to, stay on track with whatever you're trying to manifest.
And that's the same thing I try to tell people. I'm like, hey, look, it is no different than the meat cleaver that you would use to hack up something. It's no different than the rolling pin. It is a tool to achieve an end result.
Absolutely.
Is it integral? There are times that I actually argue that. Mm-hmm. Because people become so focused on, I've got to have a candle to get this done. Okay, well, if Jenny doesn't have a candle now, in her own mind, she's creating a hurdle, or she's going to falter because, by God, Jenny doesn't have her candle.
Right.
So,
we tend to rely more on these physical things when, like I said, the intention and the magic is all within you. Mm-hmm. You are a powerful co-creator in this world, and you can change and wield things just with the pointer finger.
And that's it, too.
Just with your thought.
And that's a big one. And let's, for a minute, we talk about magic. Let's talk about crystal wands.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that you had a wild assortment. From things that were very simplistic all the way up to things that were like, I don't know what. Not only loaded with crystal, but very ornate. So what is it about crystal wands?
crystal wands, crystals are the wand itself is an extension of your own energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if you're using your pointer finger and pointing, that acts as a wand. It's basically a tool for directing energy. Okay,
Right.
so when you're incorporating crystals, we know crystals have their own energy vibration. Scientifically, it's proven that they have their own energy vibration. They can store energy. They're programmable. They have different metaphysical properties. So when you're incorporating that into, the wand itself, you're directing energy of that type and of that source. Um, for instance, I have some wands in my collection. I have one that's made out of copper I got years ago, and it has crystals all um, wire wrapped on and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
copper is a superconductor, and you put that in the energy of the crystal and your own energy and attention, that can be a pretty powerful thing. They make crystal wands that are just made out of crystal, and you can use that in energy healing. Just put the point over top of a chakra, and you can draw energy into the person. Flip it upside down on the flat side or the rounded side, and you can pull the energy out. So there's a tool for a lot of different things.
Because I've looked at them and I've seen where there are large pieces of selenite, and
Hmm.
then attached to that is something more like a quartz spire,
Hmm.
to where it has a point, and then they have the smaller gems or smaller stones that are attached or wire wrapped or two. And I've often wondered because
Yeah.
again, I'm more the no tools kind of guy, but these things have always caught my attention. I'm like,
Hmm.
do, and I know that crystals serve a purpose all the time.
Yeah.
That's why I'm loaded with crystals on my desk. It's just people walk in, they say that's either really organized or that's really a mess. I'm like, it's a mess. Don't worry about it. It's
Right.
okay. But
You
citrine.
don't want to see what's around me here. This is all a mess.
Oh,
I'm giving you the good view.
I'll tell you what. If I had to take this webcam and show people, they would go, no, no, no. We're not doing that. It's unreal. It's like citrine. Citrine has a very particular means. It does a very particular thing.
Yep.
Oh, which reminds me, citrine in and of itself is more of a yellow golden stone, correct?
It tends to be in its natural form. It actually almost looks like a smoky quartz, but that a lot of times the more orangey color ones can be a bit irradiated, so they have extra um, energy that's put into them, not naturally,
Yeah.
right?
And this
Yeah,
guy, I wish I could focus, is more of a heat treated citrine,
exactly. Heat treated. Yep.
you know, and it does. It carries a little bit of different properties, and
Yeah.
that's somebody said, "Well, I've got citrine and it's yellow," and another person, "No, citrine's orange." That's just, time out, folks. We got both ends here.
Yeah. The actual natural form of it, and sometime I can show you I have both, but it's more of a smoky appearance. Almost looks like a smoky quartz. It's in the quartz family too. So, but yeah, citrine's a stone of abundance. Does abundance in all forms, and you have a double terminated one that you were showing me there. So the energy runs at both ends because it has a point on both sides.
Yeah, he's this one was the one that was given me by my mentor. He shipped it up from Tennessee, probably 15 years ago or more.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You really need to work with this." I'm like, "Okay." And then after a year's time, I really understood why it
Hmm.
didn't look flat on one end, like,
That one. Yep.
you know. And he shipped me that one too. Oh, one quick thing before we go. When
Yeah.
you start, people, and correct me if I'm wrong, people that buy clear quartz and they're point spires, that look like somebody has shaved them and polished them, that's actually how they've grown. They may have polished the cut edges of them,
Yeah.
in order to achieve a flatter surface. But when they pick them up, they're at first they are like just they look like glass. They're so clear. But the more people use that stone, or the more that they focus with it, the more that they have a hold of it, it actually begins to grow inclusions on the inside. Is that due to the energetic work that they're doing?
Well, the cloudiness can affect it. I've heard of people, having a clear crystal and over time it gets cloudy, or if it's a amethyst, for instance, it might start to lose its color and become more whitish in
Mm-hmm.
tone. It can be that, and sometimes, if you have a regular cleansing process, and there's multiple schools of thought on that, taking it outside in a storm so that it can get charged from the electrical currents in the atmosphere, plus getting cleansed from the water of rain. And then I've heard of other people having to go outside and just bury them, give them back to the earth because they kind of been depleted. But
Right.
that's in rare instances. But inclusions are more imperfections within the crystal that are derived from the area in which it grows. So if there's harsh conditions, there might be inclusion in the crystal or something like that. And that's how they can determine what region it actually comes from, is from the inclusions.
See, now, this one that Richard sent me that I've used for years, Shelley had it for a weekend, and she would hold on to it, and this was years ago. When she gave it back to me, I noticed that the occlusions, the web spider, the
Yeah.
cloudy, had actually grown inside the crystal. Because when Richard sent this to me, and I don't even know if the camera, I might have to look at this online or something. When he sent this to me, it was crystal clear,
Mm-hmm.
and as time has gone by, that cloudy spider web inside has grown.
Hmm.
It has continued to grow. And the more that I use it, I've noticed the more that it is working its way up to the tip. It started to go out to the side, but it's working its way up.
That's really interesting. I mean, I wonder if any of our viewers or listeners out there might have some insight on that.
I would be really interested, and I'll tell them one more before we go. I also have two crystal spheres.
Hmm.
One is just plain crystal, the other is obsidian. Now, this guy, I had put him away for a while. He became so upset. Let me see if I can find the eye of it again. There's the eye on one side,
Oh, that's cool. Is
and
it
the other
silver too?
side is the wide open eye.
Oh, yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, Richard had where he got these. I really don't know, but you can definitely see the eye,
You definitely can see that there.
and it's a green eye. But I had put him away for a while, and he became so upset with me that it flat spotted. It has. I could roll it on my desk and you could see it. It has a flat spot on it now, and this was a perfectly round, machined crystal, just like its twin brother. This guy, this guy is still 100% round.
Yeah.
This guy, he's got a flat spot. If I could find it, I would show you. And if anybody's watching or listening, if they could tell me why, I know that most items are, we consider them a solid, but they're actually not. They're a very serious liquid. Just
Hmm.
they appear solid, like glass. Glass, we think it's solid. It's not. If you go to a home that's 120 years old, let me set these down before. I know damn well I'll drop them. But if you go to a home that's an antique home or no century old home, the
Yeah.
glass panes in the windows are thinner at the top, and they actually become thicker at the bottom because glass is by gravity flowing
Settling.
down.
Yeah.
You know. But
Oh,
I'm
that's
curious if
interesting.
anybody knows why obsidian or how it would become a flat surface on that. Would be
There's
interesting.
Right, because there's so many different phenomenons out there. I've heard of different crystals, spontaneously breaking, getting cloudy and or changing color completely. And it's like, yeah, there's all sorts of things that go on out there. But I'd be interested if anybody has any other clarification as to what, the growing of that inclusion and the flat spot on that obsidian.
Oh, I would too. If anybody has any information, if you're listening or watching, drop us a line at terraturas at gmail.com. It's TerraTuras, terraturas at gmail.com, because I would love to find out.
Yeah.
All right, dude, guess what? It's that time already. Everybody, thanks for joining us here on Mystical Moments. We're going to be back again next week. We're just going to be sitting here and we're going to be discussing who knows what. But just like it says at the bottom, this is your destination for your half-hour brain vacation. So until next week, I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.